The distinction between when to pronounce the ed suffix as t or d is just a little bit trickier. When do we say d or t? Let's start with an easy fact to remember. If a verb ends in a vowel sound, it is always d. For example, played, agreed, argued, cried. So we now know how to pronounce ed if the last sound is a vowel, a t or a d sound. But how about the other sounds? There are two ways you can learn this, either by considering the spelling or the sound. If you want to look at the spelling, words that end in these letters generally take the t sound. Looked, relaxed, stopped, finished, asked, missed, cooked, watched, typed, liked. Words that end in these letters generally take the d sound. Travelled, lived, called, arrived, listened, belonged, changed, closed, happened, Googled. Again, notice how some of these words end in a vowel if you look at the spelling, but what matters is how they sound. Close, for example, ends in a z sound, so you'll notice a d. Let's see these words in context now. We'll show you one example of a word that ends in t, and then one that ends in d, and so on.
She looks so happy.
She looked right at me.
Hey, you've traveled a lot, right?
Yeah, I've been around.
Hang on, you traveled across the entire country and never left a train station?
Why would I?
So I stopped it, and she got mad and broke my projector.
I thought I was getting better, so on my way home today, I stopped by this guitar store, and...
Did you touch any of the guitars while you were there? I've never lived like this before.
I know.
Really?
Are you kidding? Phoebe lived on the street.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. I'm not finished counting!
We've just finished this magnificent Thanksgiving dinner.
Not true. I never called your mother a Wolverine.
When I called the restaurant, they said she was too busy to talk.
You're not the guy that asked for the tea, are you?
So, Scott asked me to come over for lunch today, and I did.
You can't order until the entire party's arrived. Restaurant policy.
How are you? I've been meaning to ring you ever since I arrived, but... So, how are things going with Crazy? Has she cooked your rabbit yet?
Wait, did I leave the stove on?
You haven't cooked since 1996.
Leonard, wait! No! I listen to your dumb thing!
This could have all been avoided if you'd only listened to me.
There are three ways in which you can pronounce the suffix ed for the past tense of regular verbs, and once you get an understanding of how they work, you'll be happy about finally mastering this frequent pronunciation mistake. So this ed suffix can be pronounced in three different ways, either as a t sound, a d, or the syllable id. Now, the common mistake I've seen in my students and learners in general is overusing the extra syllable id. So they'll say the past tense of these words as use it, finish it, watch it, or cook it. Luckily, this does not very often get in the way of communication, so if you don't mind keeping this way of speaking, it's totally fine. If, on the other hand, you're interested in perfecting your pronunciation, this lesson is for you. It's easier to learn when to use id than when to use t or d, which is good because the common mistake, as I said, usually is overusing id. So add an extra syllable only when the verb ends in a t or a d. That's it. Only say id when the word ends in a t or a d sound. It's that simple. With that in mind, which verb here doesn't end in a t or a d sound? Decide, start, vote, wait, advise, need. Advise ends in a s sound, so it's not pronounced with the extra syllable id. Now, an important thing to keep in mind is that when we talk about phonetics or pronunciation, you should trust your ears more than your eyes. What do I mean by that? Even though the words decide and vote end in a vowel, when you look at the spelling, the actual sound that you hear is a d and a t respectively. So they're pronounced as decided, voted. We say started, waited, needed. Let's check out some examples with verbs in the past tense that end in the id sound.
Oh, yeah? Have you ever dated anyone who's been divorced 3 times?
Hi.
Hey.
Look, I'm sorry I didn't text you back. I just needed some time to think.
This ed rule also applies to adjectives.
I am so attracted to him right now.
So, you interested?
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So remember, only use id when the last sound of the verb is either t or d.